I'm Tonia Pyle, and this is Ridgecrest Talk. Thank you for joining us. My guest today is Camille Gadwood from the Exotic Feline Breeding Compound. Camille, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here. Finally meet you face to face.
Right. We've actually known each other from telephone
correspondence
right. For I don't know, just within 10 years.
Almost 10 years, yeah.
So
a lot's gone on.
Yes, and so I've been to your compound and visited your wild cats, but how long have you been at the Exotic Feline Breeding Compound?
I've been with them for almost 20 years. I started in the mid-90s, and it was kind of a godsend to me. I was looking for a place to do volunteer work just out of college, and
do you live near Rosamond?
Kind of, sort of, yeah. We're about an hour away. So it's, you know, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, then in Los Angeles terms, relatively close. But I was looking for a place to volunteer. I love to work with animals and love exotic cats, wild felines, and just happened to hear about this place in a city called Rosamond, which I had never heard of back then. And they said, you know, oh, it's a great place, just go visit. And I did, and it took 2 visits. I talked with other volunteers there, and they were in desperate need of volunteers. And they told me, doesn't take any special experience. We teach you everything you need to know. There's no prerequisite training or schooling.
Now, were these the owners who were?
They were volunteers, much like I had started. They come from all walks of life. We have a real rocket scientist from JPL. I work in a cube in my 9-to-5 life. We have some retirees. We have people from the military background, because one of our neighbors is Edwards Air Force Base. So just this mix of people who have this common interest and want to help and, you know, do some work, and it is fairly physical labor being a zookeeper. But the way we care for the cats and house the cats, there is really no prerequisite training other than being there and being shown
and
day by day.
The heart to do it.
Exactly, having the heart and the stamina to do it. And within 3 weeks I was volunteering, and 20 years later I'm still doing it. And it gets in your blood almost. I mean, just the personality of these animals, the way they're kept, the way they're housed, it's a very unique facility. And
well, you brought a guest with you. We didn't introduce your guest. I apologize.
That's quite all right. Most cats, you know, they're pretty much okay on their own.
They don't care.
If you do pay attention to them, they are fairly indignant, so there we are. This is Tao. He's the probably the only well-behaved cat I could bring. We keep our cats pretty much wild, as you would see them in their natural habitats. Part of our mission in the breeding and preservation, because that's what we do. We're not a rescue or a way station. These aren't people's stray pets or cast-off pets that have been confiscated. They belong to actual species breeding programs. We work with zoos all over the world, trading the cats back and forth, ensuring the genetics are aligned so we can propagate the species, as well as preserve a healthy, genetically pure bloodline for these cats. So we like to keep them with as much of their wildness in them as possible.
You told me you were aware of Johnny Carson, the girl who used to appear on Johnny Carson. I didn't think you would remember her. I do.
Who doesn't remember? I mean, you see wild animals appearing on shows. That just gets me. I have to see it. I have to record it. But
she was one of the best.
I remembered her name was Joan Embry, and I wanted to be her. I wanted to grow up and be her and work with animals and talk about them. And it took a little longer than I thought, but here I am, and I can do that for these cats. And, you know, starting out as the zookeeper, it gave the background, the knowledge.
Well, you've been talking to me about it for many years.
Exactly. And again, through a volunteer sort of initiative, you kind of ask, you know, what you can do, you know, how you can help. And they asked one day, came to me, well, can you write a press release? Had never written one before. I said, sure, I'll give it a shot. And almost 15 years later, I'm still doing that. I just love talking about the facility and what we do, why we do it, how much I believe in it, and how important it is for their species and also for the public to understand what we're doing, especially like younger people coming in. We got a lot of kids, school tours, things like that, where, you know, we're not getting any younger. They're going to have to take over. We want to instill those same values in them to come volunteer, be zookeepers, speak on behalf of their welfare and preservation, keep that going. So it's really, really a neat place.
Well, we're just at a point where we could show the video you brought and take people on a virtual tour of the facility.
Great.
So let's have Joey show us a video of the exotic feline breeding compound in Rosamond. Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk with our guest Camille Gadwood from the Exotic Feline Breeding Compound.
It's a mouthful, I know.
Well, it goes by another name as well. What was
the full name? Is the Exotic Feline Breeding Compound Feline Conservation Center. Shorten it up a little, EFBC, or EFBC's Feline Conservation Center. A lot of our friends, longtime supporters, just refer to us as the Cat House.
I like that.
Our bumper sticker is, and some of our older T-shirts go back to the support your local cat house, branded on stuff. And we kind of like to promote it for a while as the only cat house you'd feel comfortable bringing your mother, your sister, your families to.
Oh, I want to show people too the little calendar you brought me as the babies.
Our 2016 EFBC calendar. It's out right now. It was just printed, and this one is a special theme calendar. All past calendars have so far been just a variety of our cats. These are still our cats, but all babies, dedicated to babies.
Very cute.
They're just I think we've got one at least from every species we've had. Brings back some fond memories. There's some very old pictures in there.
Well, do you have any particular stories of your years there that you like to share?
Where do I begin?
I'm sure. What are kind of human experiences you have with your cats at the cat house?
I think if I had to pick one, it would be from my jaguar stories. I love big cats. Jaguars are fascinating creatures. They're fairly they're among the large cats. They're not only black. They come in the standard yellow spot, kind of like a leopard.
Oh, okay.
But they're built very muscular. They're almost like a pit bull or the Rottweiler of the cat world. They're not as sleek and slim as a leopard is.
Okay. I was thinking of a leopard.
They're fairly intelligent, but they have kind of a tunnel vision when they're working on a project. A leopard will kind of take a step back and think about a project, and you can almost see the wheels turn at the center when they are working on something, and then execute. Jaguar has a little different take. They just dive right in there and try and work it one way, and if it doesn't work that way, then we'll try something else. But the intent is always the same.
So this would be when you're trying to engage them in activities,
just
or
anything, whether it's like an enrichment, like the phone book here with our friend Tao.
Yes.
We'll give them toys to play with.
Okay.
We call them enrichments. We like to enrich their environments.
Yes.
A lot of zoos do this because these are not jails for the animals. This is their home. So you have to provide some sort of mental stimulation, some sort of exercise, just fun. We give them different toys so they don't get bored. We don't give them toys all the time because we don't want them to get bored. They're a bit like kids. Of course, they prefer, boxes, phone books, fruits, melon squashes, things like that. We'll use a variety of scents, like rosemary, perfumes. I mean, just whatever.
I like the big ice
the
block
ice
I
blocks.
saw of your cat eating the melted ice.
Well, this is the high desert area, so of course our summers during the midday can soar above 100 degrees, sometimes 110. The evenings are still relatively cool, but as some sort of relief from that, we sort of dial up the enrichments to ice treats. We throw either some little bits of meat or fruit or whatever into the giant ice blocks and just let them have that.
Oh, okay.
But this one particular jaguar, he was, when we do our cleaning in the morning, the larger cats we lock securely in their den boxes for cleaning, and then the keepers can come in their enclosure and clean up everything. We clean every enclosure every day, almost 365 days a year. For their health, their welfare, and just the upkeep of the facility. It's nice to come to the center, just as you did, and see it is clean. It doesn't smell like we have 70 cats on the property. But our jaguars, you know, this one was watching us. They just watch what we do. And his enclosure has a 2-basin sink, one for his food that's empty, and the other side is filled with water. And the way we would clean his water would we would tip the sink, pull the basin out of its like metal foundation, clean it out, and put it back in. And he watched this after a few days, few times, and you know, we thought, okay, fine, he's interested, whatever. And you know, then we let him out. After we're done cleaning, we let them out, you know, so they can roam. But one day he just got it in his head, I'm going to try this. So he was working, he was climbing all over the sink, all over the frame, trying to get the sink popped out. and of course, he doesn't realize in doing this, he's going to spill all his water all over the ground and then have no drinking water. So we kind of had to tell him, no, don't do that, and cats don't like hearing no. But sooner or later, he did get bored after he achieved his goal. The sink was over here, the frame is over here. Right.
He achieved it. That surprises me.
So he made an enrichment of his own, which I think is fascinating. But it's just really neat to see if you don't train them or teach them to do anything else other than, you know, be what they're supposed to and let them be what they're supposed to. They have these little personalities all on their own. They do these different little things. Not every day is the same, and they don't react to the keepers that staff the same every day because we have different crews. So they might act in one manner on, say, a Tuesday, but act completely different on a Thursday. So it's really interesting.
They have their moods.
They do. They're just like people.
They're feline.
They're feline, yeah, and that's a basket full of surprises.
One thing that interested me was when you said it doesn't smell when you go there, because I've been near other animals for other circus event or something, and you could not go near the cage because the odor was so intense. You just couldn't even go near it. So in a way that's good because you don't want people going near those cages, but it was actually very true.
It can be overpowering.
It's overpowering. So we're going to be taking a quick break, and we'll come back and talk more about the Rosamond Exotic Feline Breeding Compound and the cat house.
Great.
All right, so we'll watch this fellow and see if he wants to play with this phone book. He's so cute. I'm glad you brought him. Anyway, he does look pretty tame.
Very well behaved.
Okay. Well, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk with Camille Gadwood from the Exotic Feline Breeding Compound. And I was talking to you about, you weren't there the day I came to the compound. It's been several years ago. I came with a friend who lives in Santa Clarita, where you live. And so I ventured up. At that time, I was in Long Beach. I picked her up in Santa Clarita. We came on out to Rosamond. So it's kind of in our backyard here in Ridgecrest. I guess you probably don't want me to say it's Ridgecrest. And it's not.
It's in everybody's backyard.
Yes.
We figure about
Right.
100-mile radius pretty well covers
That's the
it.
backyard.
We do get people coming from all over.
And
it is worth the drive.
It is. We got such a nice reception. One of the volunteers took the time. I was so surprised to actually walk us through the lineup of your cats, but it actually wasn't like a twilight tour, which
Right.
I also have been to a twilight tour where you
great.
get kind of the back experience of what goes on there. But now I told you I was going to mention that I told I forgot to tell my friend not to embarrass me when I took her to the compound, and so she got upset because the cages, they do live in cages that I'm not sure they're as large as a trailer on a semi or as a train car. So it seems very small. There's a huge acreage there, and yet they're in this very a relatively small cage.
And actually, that is a fairly common
observation.
Exactly, and happy to address that. It's very easy to address. The facility itself, and when you had seen it, we sit on just about 75 acres of land. In buildings and structures right now, it takes up about maybe 12 or 13 acres. So it, like you said, it is fairly concentrated.
Right.
The reason being right now, and we still do have some growth, to do, and more we want to build, but we do like having sort of that buffer zone around the perimeter to guard against the encroaching community, and there is that. But to address the size of the enclosures themselves, I don't know if your friend has cats or you have cats yourself, or know people with cats. They need a reason to play. They don't play often, and they are fairly lazy, highfalutin, almost like royalty sort of animals. It's a very high maintenance animal. It's an animal that sleeps 18 to 20 hours a day, average, which means some sleep more, some sleep less, but they don't have a high activity period. When they are active, most people are familiar with scenes on Discovery or Animal Planet with cats running out in the wind, and
climbing the trees.
Exactly, but usually dinner's out in front of them, running for its life. And what they've picked to eat or chase down is not the fastest, it's the slowest. They want the one that's going to drop first because they don't like to exert that much energy to get dinner. The fact that what they're chasing doesn't have any fence to stop them really is just sort of a happenstance thing. You could pretty much think of the EFBC as a Ritz-Carlton for the cats. They get we're the keepers, yes, or we're merely room service, catering, housekeeping, if you will. In terms of exercise and play, though, they do get all that. You can see our friend Tao here has his phone book. That is part of the enrichment, is to exercise them. Cats need three-dimensional space to play. They don't run outright for no reason. The mild exception would be a cheetah. That's the real skinny, sort of running, sprinting cat. They run 70 miles an hour to catch their food. They need to run every now and then. The EFBC does not house cheetahs right now. We just don't have the funding to build an enclosure large enough to run them like that. But for everybody else, they use three-dimensional space. So the enclosures, for the most part, all have their den boxes set higher. They have something to scratch on. They have something to climb on.
Some of them had rather elaborate living space, and others it just seemed very stark.
The large exhibit,
Spartan.
the large exhibit cages, the pretty ones, they have everything that the smaller ones do. But the cats in the larger ones, those enclosures really are more for aesthetic purposes. They're really not practical in the sense of moving cats, breeding cats. if we had a pair of a breeding pair in those enclosures, the mother has babies. Okay, now where do we put the dad? How do we get them out, him out, other than having to tranquilize him and move him?
Oh, okay.
Where some of the other enclosures, we've actually thought a little more about design and less trauma and stress on felines, where if we need to separate cats, we've built in a system of drop gates, guillotine gates, so we can close a few off in their pathway and then just run him through.
Yes.
Usually it takes an incentive like a chicken to get him through. And they go, much less stressful. It's a win-win. You know, we get a less stressy cat. He gets a nice chicken treat out of it, so it's great. But back to the play, you can see the panels on some of the enclosures are kind of curvy. And that's from the cats bouncing up against them. The leopards are capable. They can, like, cling to the ceilings if they want. But they do most of this at night, too. So
well, it's neat to know they have a lot of fun things going on. Let's talk to our viewers about some of your events in our last minute here. And do you have a Starlight Tour coming up?
We do have one coming up, the Twilight Tour, which you have said you've been to. That is a really special event because that does showcase the cats playing at night. We hold 3 events during the night Twilight Tours. The next one is September 26th.
Okay.
They're held at 5:30 p.m. They go about till 8:30 or 9, but the cats start getting active. It's their natural time to be awake, go looking for food.
Oh, okay.
Twilight Tours, instead, we give everybody a toy. So our Southeast Asian fishing cats, which are sort of a large, sort of small cat, they look a lot like a tabby. They really do fish. So we give them fish so people can see they do fish. The phone books are very popular with the leopards.
Speaking of the phone book, let's give your number so they can call if they want to hook up with them.
Our number is 661
What's
256
I've got it.
3793.
Okay, and it's September 26th.
September 26th. They can also look us up online.
How much is it?
The $20 a person.
Okay.
Adults only, 18 and older, because we do open up that back area.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us
Thank you very
today.
much. A pleasure.
All right.